All right, folks, we're still here in Indianapolis, Indiana. Unbelievable. Home, the state is home of the Hoosiers. Growing up, I used to watch. I wasn't a Hoosier fan, though, but I did see them play a lot of games. And with Bob Knight, they won a couple different championships along the way. And I have with me Teddy Sourlis, who is a third-generation basketball player in New Jersey at the high school level. He led the state of New Jersey in three-point shooting, which, by the way, is not an easy thing to do. Played college basketball, and from there started a company which is growing on a daily basis. It tugs right at the heart, and it's making a difference through awareness and education, which is Men's X Mental. Teddy, what's going on, brother?
Very great to see you.
How you feeling, man?
Me. Feeling great. Indiana's great. My sister went to IU.
Your sister went to Indiana?
I've been here before. It's a great city.
How do you feel about this whole setup?
Oh, it's incredible. VCon's incredible. The operations, the marketing, the activations, they're all.
Yeah.
It's an honor to be here.
Yeah. And by the way, it's an honor to do this interview with you as well, brother.
Thank you.
For all the folks that are watching, because I have a lot of entrepreneur clients and, business owners, corporate executives, but as well as influencers. I love influencers. I love creativity. Can you talk a little bit about where you're from, where it all started?
Yeah. I'm from Rumson, New Jersey, down by the shore.
Not the Jersey Shore, like.
Not the Jersey Shore. I don't like
a different
shore.
Jersey Shore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's New Jersey's home.
Yeah.
I was blessed to grow up in a good family, and my family has always had my back. And as you had mentioned, basketball was always who I am.
So basketball, was that like at the dinner table every night? Coming up? Was it?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Your dad was a college player for Iona, a legendary high school basketball coach here in New Jersey as well?
Right. Yeah, my dad coached 30 years girls basketball. He's now coaching boys basketball. My aunt played at Stanford and was an Olympian.
Wow.
My other aunt played at Michigan.
These are full scholarship basketball players, right?
Full scholarship basketball players. So
what was going on in the Sourlis house?
Oh, man, they worked their butts. Yeah, they loved the game. And that's where I got it from. As an athlete, that's always how we identify. Once an athlete, always an athlete.
Yeah.
But with our organization, with Men's Mental, we always tell our athletes, you're always more than an athlete.
Yeah.
I'm blessed to be a part of a family who has not only blossomed as a basketball player on the court, but also off the court in their business. And my aunt's a lawyer, real estate, stuff like that, where they're more than an athlete beyond the ball.
And as far as your dad, right, can we talk a little bit about Coach Sourlis as we tie all this together? When you're coming up, right, and I think of, Bobby and Danny Hurley, because their dad's brother's married to my sister. So Bobby and Danny, as you know, were great basketball players.
Sure.
Bobby goes to Duke, Danny goes to Seton Hall.
Yep.
And there's major challenges.
Right.
Turns it around, just wins the national championship.
Yeah.
As a coach's son, was that part of the story as you came to eventually, creating the company that you created? And if you want to get into that, great. If you don't, let me know.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think my dad has definitely set the foundation for who I am as an individual. Going to his practices as a child and just shooting around on the sidelines, him yelling at me to stop dribbling while he's talking, little things like that, that I've picked on, the attention to detail. And that's really what I take into the businesses that I do, the relationships that I form, but see them on a deeper level. Because as much as a basketball coach as he was, he's a human.
Yes.
And I really believe the way that he separated himself, regardless of the 15 state championships,
15.
He went to those girls' weddings. He's still in those girls' lives. They still come back with their children to my house. And it's not just coaching, it's bigger than coaching, it's relationships.
Yeah.
And I think some coaches lose the mindset of that sometimes.
So when you were growing up, you saw that. Well, you know that now, but how was it for you growing up? I know you had some secrets that you kept to yourself.
Right.
That things led to those secrets. And you actually tried to do certain things, if you want to get into that. How did that play into how challenging your high school years were with these secrets, and then eventually being able to break through that to make this flag in the ground company that you're building that's a nonprofit that is going to change the face of sports going forward?
Yeah, I dealt with a lot. I dealt with closed doors, behind the scenes struggles.
Was it your own struggle? Was it trying to be perfect? Was it an expectation? Like, what was going on for you?
It was a combination of a lot of things. It was the expectation to be as good of a basketball player as I could be. And, it wasn't necessarily forwardly stated, I want you to play in college.
Yes.
That was my dream and that was my passion. And thankfully and gratefully, my father pushed me to that.
Yes.
But that was my dream. And, what I did struggle with was the ideations of suicide. And not because of anything with my family, but my own personal.
Do you remember when it first started for you? Can you think of a point in time when those thoughts kicked in?
I remember the night of my 8th grade graduation, and I was a popular kid. I was on the school basketball team, which in 8th grade, it's a pretty big thing.
Yes, you were really good too, so there's even more pressure.
And everything's relative, right? But in that time, after my 8th grade graduation, I had went home and I wrote my first suicide letter.
What was going on though?
I didn't know.
Fear of failure? Did you want to play?
Yeah, it was a whole bunch
disappointing
of
people, not loving yourself.
Not loving myself. I was a chubby kid growing up. I was bullied.
Really?
I was bullied. I was in 4th and 5th grade. I was chubby. I was a heavy set kid. My mom said big boned.
Yeah.
But it was a troublesome time for me because I love food. Everybody loves food.
I love food. I can't wait to eat food right now.
But
I'm ready to go.
Yeah, it's body image stuff is something that men especially, struggle with at a young age.
I did I was so skinny that I was really insecure about it. Opposite of you.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's even still to this day, I have some traumatic experiences that push me to work out as much as I do. Little things like that, where as an 8th grader, I didn't want to be who I was. I didn't want to be in the skin that I was, under the pressure that I felt that I was. And I truly did feel alone. I felt that, regardless of my family, who I knew supported me, even my friends, as I went to sleep at night, I would cry myself to sleep because I felt like I had nobody to talk to and nobody who understood me for me. And it was a really troubling time of my life.
How long did that last?
I would say I dealt with suicidal ideations for a good 3-4 years.
Did you ever tell anybody, even a friend? So just keeping that in really hard.
That's what we do. As men, we internalize those past traumatic experiences. Me talking at 23 years old about my 8th grade experiences.
Yeah.
Those are internalized traumatic struggles that we don't talk about.
Yeah.
That bottles up. I call it, it's like I metaphorically refer to it as a balloon.
Yeah.
Right? As a balloon, if you put too much air in it, you put too much pressure on it, it's going to pop.
Yeah.
And that's really how those experiences start to develop.
So the other day you're talking to my AAU team, right?
Yeah.
And there's kids in there no doubt there's no doubt somebody in there is thinking what you thought, right? So that now at 23, and if there's parents watching this, uncles, aunts, whatever, what are some of the things they could do to have to not make the child feel like, bad about it, but to open up that conversation where they know they could be told it's okay.
Right.
Don't keep that a secret. Let's talk about it. There's a solution.
Absolutely. And I think first and foremost, as parents, you will always look at your children as your son or as your daughter, and what I try to tell people is look at those people as at face value. Strip the son identity, strip the daughter identity, and look at me as Teddy Sourlis, not the son of George Sourlis.
Yes.
And it's a mindset where you're not just seeing your identity that you have formed for your son. You're seeing the struggles that he may be beyond that, the struggles you don't even understand. But I always tell my parents specifically, the question is normally, how was school today, right? And you would put your head down, good mom, good dad, right?
Yeah.
That's about it. But ask those deeper questions, how are you really doing? You're not acting yourself today. is everything okay? What happened at school today?
Yeah.
Why is your coach bullying you in the way that he's doing? You know, and it was something that as a child I wish I could have spoken up about, but sometimes you don't even know what to look for. You can't expect somebody to speak up about it if you don't even know how to acknowledge it and recognize it yourself.
Yeah.
So that's what we really try to do as an organization, is the education factor, especially for parents. Learn what to look for. Look for the signs. You know, there are signs. There are things that we miss. You know, having lost 2 friends to suicide, I now think in retrospect how many different signs
Was there signs?
there are signs.
Was there signs that when you think about it now, like?
Absolutely. And even for myself, I try and always put myself in people's shoes. You know, see things from their different perspective, which I think we lack as a society. That's empathy, right? But trying to understand somebody else's perspective, where if they're socially isolated, little things like that, where, okay, a popular kid who goes out in high school or like has a lot of friends, whatever, all of a sudden doesn't do that. There's a snap there. There's a change in his behavior that's sudden, and that's usually caused by something.
And I don't want to get controversial here, but a lot of kids in high school, and we just, you know, I know this from a personal experience, medication, how does that play into this? From at least your perspective, and you're not a doctor, you're not giving medical advice, but could you talk a little bit about that?
The medication aspect, it's difficult. There's a very fine line there. I have grown up my entire life with ADHD, and I was only diagnosed with it truly by a doctor at 23 years old. And, you know, I had been prescribed medication for it, and it has changed my life. The past year, I have felt like what I should have my entire life.
So, so the shift has given you the ability to kind of not feel the feelings of negative, but stay focused on a driven outcome and not staying stuck in an emotion.
Absolutely, and especially as a student, as an athlete even, you know, if there's a ball bouncing over there and coach is talking, you know, my attention is like that.
Yeah.
But you know, I think there are good sides to it. There are also bad sides to it.
Yeah.
I had recently had a speaking engagement, and a man came up to me, and his son had thought about suicide, and he told me that he was put on medications that weren't even regulated, and he did end up dying by suicide. And there's so much research on it now, where if you don't do your research, you're doing a disservice to yourself or to your kids.
Yeah.
You know, look at the symptoms and different reactionary effects to truly understand, and having those different conversations, different opinions even, on what truly is best for you or your kids. I think that's imperative as well.
So for the kid in high school that's having one good year, maybe not the next year, and we talk about coaching bullying, what does that look like that maybe the parents don't understand? Yep. We're going to rip it off.
Negative talk.
Because it's simple. It's little stuff. It's not you suck, right? Or you're terrible, or it's little implicit little jabs.
Right.
Each day they start building up, and then all of a sudden your brain starts telling you you're not good anymore.
Exactly. And it's just a confidence booster. Like, you know, I always working with coaches now and trying to inspire coaches. Their job is to inspire those kids. You know, I always tell my athletes that I work with, the ball will stop bouncing. The ball will stop bouncing at some point. So who are you beyond that?
Yes.
And the coaches sometimes don't understand that fully.
Yes.
And it really is a problem, because they don't see beyond the basketball player. They don't see beyond that facade.
So who's Teddy Sourlis?
I'm a survivor.
What else?
I'm a motivator. I'm a human being, as well as an athlete. You know, I think that's what's special about me. That's what's special about all of us. There are so many different parts of us, and there truly is parts.
Yeah.
It's called internal family systems. There's different parts of us.
Okay.
It's a psychological, not disorder, but it's bordering identity dissociative disorder. We all have a piece of it. It's based in fact.
I'd love to learn more about that privately. So when you go from high school to college, does all of these things start coming to fruition in your life? Like all the things that you were struggling with, does it start coming out?
Yeah, it starts to come out, and I did seek help.
You did?
I did. I have been to in-person therapy. I've been to virtual therapy. And I think even being to those, what my mental health looks like won't be the same as yours. And what works for me may not work for you. And it's the same message where, I did both of those things. I took those necessary steps to get help. But I found my true saving grace in my teammates.
Really?
My teammates understood me for me. My teammates,
every teammate, or we're talking college now?
college.
Okay.
College, even high school. That's.
You were part of really good teams in high school.
I was part of really good teams, and
Yeah.
what made us great was that it was beyond the court. We weren't the drinking bunch. We didn't do all that. We were focused. It's why we won 2 state championships.
Yeah.
But we would go out to breakfast on a Saturday morning just because we loved being together.
Yeah.
And that's what I found my hope in, because they started to open up to me. And now I was a sounding board for them, where it went back and forth. There was that vice versa conversation where we could talk about anything. There were no restrictions. There was no judgment. It was just human to human, Rob to Teddy.
Yeah. And let me ask, first, there's a lot of people like you that have survived and moved on, but you decided to open up a business, a nonprofit. What did it take to do that? And I love that. I mean, that part of the journey is incredible, and we're telling that story every day.
Right. Babson College. It took the best entrepreneurship in the country. The best entrepreneurship school.
That school's about entrepreneurship?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Number 1 for 30 years straight.
I didn't know that. That's
up
incredible.
in Wellesley, Massachusetts. That place changed my life.
And did somebody say, hey, you should make this?
So it's part of the curriculum. As a freshman, your first class on campus, it's called the Foundations of Management of Entrepreneurship. You are gifted with a team $5,000 to start your own business. No regulations. Go do it, and you get a grade for it.
Wow.
So in the following year, there was an IT project. Objective was start a social platform to create change. And this is what I started with a couple other athletes, and to have it grown and scaled to the position that we're at now is my proudest moment today.
Wow. Amazing. So, you're at the beginning of the beginning. How can folks reach you on social media, by the way?
Yeah, it's at Men's X Mental and mensxmental.org. Yeah.
Do you have a coaching program? Do you have a mentorship program? Like, what are some of the things that folks could find out when they get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can go on our website and be immediately contacted with the therapist. There are a multitude of resources on there as well. And athletes have really used our platform, our website specifically, to share their own story and to be included within that vulnerable community of other men who talk about it. It is okay to talk about it.
And you've been through some professional teams and college teams as well. Who are you working with? Not names, but
right.
Which programs have you been involved in so far?
There's a lot of schools. I'm trying to work with the schools on a more personal basis, a more B2B basis.
Got it.
It's because the athletes are our campus captains. They're our entryway. They're our foot in the door where these athletes share their stories, and now they're the spokesperson for our brand on campus. They spread the awareness and bring their team along. But it doesn't just stop there. I want them to pioneer the movement themselves.
Yeah.
And I want them to bring us to the athletic departments.
So, do you get emails every day from people?
Every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
Does it inspire you?
It does.
Yeah.
It does, and it's a lot sometimes. It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
As a survivor myself, as a someone who still battles demons. We all do. We all still battle demons. It's a lot sometimes.
So for you, do you have habits and rituals that you do to kind of break through some of those limiting beliefs or some of those demons? Is there techniques that you do when they pop up?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think the biggest message I can share is, self-reliancy. If you're in a hole, metaphorically, if you're in a hole, nobody else is going to pull you out. You got to climb out.
Yeah.
Right? So setting a routine for myself, like Chandler had said recently, you can't wake up, you can't sleep in anymore. You have to wake up early, go attack the day. And that's kind of the mindset that I'm living with. Now going and boxing every morning with Mickey.
Mickey's great. Mickey, I owe you some, I need to come back. I really do.
But little things like that where it's giving me something to be good at, something to look forward to, and having little moments throughout the day where I've found confidence being in my own space. You know, being alone sometimes, that gives me peace.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah.
I really can, 100%.
I think that's important.
Where do you see yourself in the next 5 or 10 years? You're a young man, 23 years old. Where do you see yourself as you enter into the 30s?
I see myself entering into the professional leagues. I really believe, you know, the way our society has worked, and now we've seen it with Kevin Love and DeMar DeRozan, they've started to open up the conversation regarding men's mental health. And Kevin Love specifically has the Kevin Love Fund, which is an incredible organization striving for the mental health. But it's something where it's one thing to talk about it, but what are the next steps? How are we truly making an impact? And people ask me, why doesn't Men's Mental post for Mental Health Month? Because May is Mental Health Month. And my response is, candidly, every month is Mental Health Month.
I love that.
So, you know, the mission doesn't stop here. It doesn't just go for 31 days.
Yeah.
You know, it continues on. And I think bringing the message to the leagues is something that at the grandest...
Have you started that process yet?
Working on it. We're working with privately with an NFL team right now to work on a proposal that I think will pioneer the rest of the league to get behind.
Yeah, once they do it. Yeah, I love that. All right, so folks, check it out. Go ahead and click the link below if you want to meet Teddy. You could also go to Teddy's website, which is
mensxmental.org.
Yes, and if there's some kind of comments that you want to add specific to this, please do. Other videos, if you want me to bring Teddy back, let me know. And also go ahead and click the link below if you want to talk to one of the members at Epic for anything else that we do in connection with Teddy. I want to thank you so much for checking us out. Teddy, once again, honored, brother.
Thank you so much.
I love watching you do what you do on a daily basis, my friend.
It's an honor. Thank you.
Excited.
So much. Absolutely. Thank you.